Board. We are recording. At this point, it is 6 o'clock, and I would like to open the budget workshop. And at this point, if it's all right with the board members, I'd like to open up to public comment before we contemplate our conversations. So I'd like to open up the comment section now. If there's anybody here who would like to make a comment to the board about the upcoming budget discussions, please make sure that the microphone is turned on. Sometimes it's very difficult for somebody in the recording to hear any of the comments if the microphone is not turned on. So if you just identify yourself and share your comments, please know that if time runs away from us, we do limit the time according to our policy.
Good evening. Mike Mugis. Make no mistake, we are not simply discussing the 2025-2026 school budget. It's a pivotal financial point for the future of our school and community. As reported on the district's website, failure to take action immediately will make it increasingly difficult to sustain the district's finances beyond 2028. Every school district in the county seems to bear the name of the town they serve. A merger would diminish the community's sense of identity. In his videotaped presentation, financial consultant Dr. Rick Timms noted, "You're late in the race 3 times." He summarized the district's financial status and identified 2 breakpoints, an 8% increase in the budget and an 18% increase. Our current financial plight has been pinched by 2 areas of inaction. First, as the superintendent noted at a recent board meeting, the district hasn't indulged in long-term planning in 10 years. Several of you have been in your. And second, the cumulative effect of, as the district's webpage points out, the district has lost about $6 million over time by opting to keep tax levy increases at or close to 0%, rather than proposing the calculated limit increase defined by law in annually proposed budgets, end quote. I'm glad to see the district is engaging in a budget promotion effort beyond last year's low-key budget campaign that fell short of the supermajority by 7 votes. Passing that proposed budget would have made the current situation less urgent. The district boasts the phrase, "all students future ready." That's a noble cause that I support, and it warrants the approval of an 8% increase to ensure our learners are ready for the future. However, if you expect to convince taxpayers to approve an over-cap budget, then you need to pledge to an additional phrase of "our district future ready" by exercising more oversight on the operation of the school system and its finances, and accepting accountability for 2 areas of board member responsibility outlined by the New York State School Boards Association. First, support a healthy school district culture for work and learning. And another one, create strategic partnerships with the community stakeholders. By discounting or ignoring the recently submitted petition with over 300 signatures, you would be overlooking both of these responsibilities and dismissing an interest of community members. I support an 8% increase in the budget. At the very minimum, we need an 8% budget, but I am not ready to support the district leadership unless you pledge to earn the respect and confidence of the community by meeting your responsibilities as noted above. We need results, not excuses.
Deeper comment?
Wyatt Coburn, also like to vote my interest, at least 8%. Believe anything else is frankly irresponsible. Whatever course you take, even if you do choose to go 5% or 80%, I believe you need to really, spend next 12 months, showing how you're going to continue to move forward the next few years. So showing forward thinking as opposed to just working in the rearview mirror. It's nice to see the board president this evening. You've been missed during, it's interesting, it's got to be personal vacation during budget season. I schedule any travel during budget season. I chose not to schedule travel during budget season so that I could be here, hear these meetings, and contribute. To be here and participate in these. I think it showed a level of care and interest in the school and community when you choose not to be here during budget season, choose to, miss the main budget vote last year. I sent a letter to the board this evening stating a few of these things. It's rather long-winded. I would like to summarize or to state as well that my wife made a comment last week about hearing something about potentially extending Julie's contract as superintendent. From to clarify, the board has to be with Peter at the type and whether or not I'm very concerned. Whatever. And actions publicly, again, by my country, and you and Dunnigan retaliating against that. Your community thinks noted in the petition by over 300 ignore that.
Hi, at the last board meeting, I don't remember who, someone commented about the numbers in attendance, meaning how much the community cares about the budget and how it was going to affect your vote. I am going to ask you tonight to not consider the number in attendance today, considering your last budget meeting was planned during spring break, where families leave with their families to spend time, and many other reasons why people can't make it. Sports schedules are going crazy a month. So I'm hoping that even though we're sparse, you do not consider that how much your community cares.
Can I address that? I was the one who made that comment last meeting, and it was, and I received an email about it as well. It's been taken out of context. My comment was to another board member that we saw a decrease in numbers here this year because there were not as many emotional issues involved this year. I never intended to say that I do think the community had an interest or was involved. That was not my intent, and I do not. My comment was simply that we didn't have as much a turnout here because there were not the emotional issues that were brought up last year with staff being with music, with all those issues. That was the sole reason I made that comment was that we didn't have the attendance here for the meetings because we were dealing with numbers. We're not dealing with emotions this year.
I would love for you to reconsider what you think this community finds as an emotional reason. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize if you misunderstood it. If it's been.
I didn't misunderstand a thing. I'm asking you to reconsider.
Mrs. Aubrey, just so that you know, this particular budget workshop was scheduled for this week because we have a time schedule, even though New York State hasn't passed a budget, we still have to adopt a budget. So this is still a working meeting.
On Tuesday, so by Tuesday, we have to.
Maybe in the future, we should start earlier. Let's do the budget meeting, maybe we can start earlier, so that after the on our April break. Might help community members be able to make it. Just a suggestion, I'm not sure how this deadline works.
Any additional questions or concerns to share with the board? All right, thank you very much for your comment. And we'll close the public comment session and begin our discussion. So, and the last workshop, we were right, couple of different options for consideration. People that had an opportunity to think about it. Are there people that have questions and concerns?
I don't have any questions per se, but my feeling from the community is that they would like us to go at 8%, and would be my vote at this point.
Yeah, pretty similar to what Jen just said. Gotten the point from a lot of people that support 5% is probably going to support 8%. I think they're largely true. That's largely true. I do recognize that a year ago we were talking 7 votes between passing and failing. So it doesn't take a lot of people to maybe make a difference. But I think the people that are supportive of school are very supportive of 8%. It seems to me like I'm leaning far more that way this week than I was a week ago. The thing I think we haven't talked about enough, this is kind of backing up a little bit in this. We had cuts before Rick and Dennis long-term planning, and the additional cuts I think we kind of glossed over a little bit a week ago. And so I want to take a minute. I've got that slide up in front of me, actually. I don't know if you can call that up, the staff introductions, including all options. But I think it's worth us talking about this a little. Because, yeah, in Rick's presentation at 8%, he suggested we cut another 375,000, I think it is. And the numbers on this slide, so it's 390 when she gets it up there, I think it's the 10th slide.
Yeah, it's 10.
John, the number?
They are online anyway, yeah. So those cuts in red have come to 390,000. And the thing I keep saying is we don't want to do things that are going to affect kids. That, you know, we want to preserve the student experience. We want kids to be leaving here with the same education they've come to expect from here, which is really excellent. I still don't think we say that enough. The school does a really excellent job of educating our kids. You can look at U.S. News and World Report rankings. You can look at Regents competency, you know, passing grades for each school and percentages. And you can look at the AP report card that I threw out last November as a big deal. We're consistently at the top of schools in the county, in the BOCES district, whatever, not always 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but always right there. And so I think we need to recognize that yes, we have some financial challenges, but educationally we're doing pretty well. Anyway, these things are the kinds of things that start concerning me more. And they're not the things, but elimination of a social worker, like that is totally a support for kids who need support, right? So that's potentially scary, right? Reduction of an English teacher, math teacher, and having cutting teachers, that starts to get scary. She goes, there's a little more detail behind what this is. I hope I'm being fair, you can correct if I'm not. English, basically, I think we're going from 3 to 2 English teachers to cover the classes. It's going to mean probably some slightly larger classes. We're making a change. Right now we have 2 AP English classes, one that usually has been taken by juniors, one that's usually been taken by seniors. We're going to switch to offering 1 each year instead of both every year and have juniors and seniors together in those classes. Um, I think that's very doable. There's nothing about those English classes that's sequential. One is studying the language, one is studying works of literature. You can learn details of language before you've read any particular book, and you can read the books before you've learned it. It's not critical which order they're in. So that makes sense to me. The math science position, I believe, is our physics math teacher, which we're hoping to hire someone with physics and chemistry certification, but odds of that are probably not great, right?
Well, we do have some applicants that
Okay.
fit some of those, but to see if they're qualified.
Okay. So maybe we end up with someone teaching another class out of certification, which our teachers have shown they're very capable of doing. But there are concerns there to me in that. I assume the long-term plan with this, I think that still leaves 3 science teachers, right? I assume the long-term plan is that we have a life science teacher, a chemistry teacher, and a physics teacher probably until then, but that's my assumption. I've not confirmed that with anyone in any way. I get that. We have a very experienced science department right now, so there's a chance there will be more personnel changes there, I'm sure, in the future as people decide to retire, which, anyway. I don't think any of those are really scary because I don't think we're actually eliminating anything, but we're getting really close to the point where we have to. When you look at the cuts we're choosing to make and you start saying, what else is it they're going to cut next? You start to realize it's going to be something that's really important to some kid. Whether that's tech classes, ag classes. We moved kindergarten, one teacher into the title grant to let us keep full day kindergarten. I mean, going to half day kindergarten. Like, these are changes, and they're the changes we make. And if we pass over by the tax cap, I think they're the changes that are going to have to be made. I'm not so worried about the merger thing. The truth is, some of the things we offer, a lot of schools around here don't offer. But I don't want to stop offering. I don't want to stop offering them because we merge, and I don't want to stop offering them because we don't merge. I think they're really important to kids. I think it's important that we put that out. Think about the fact that this is where we're at. These are the next things to go. And the next things to go are going to be more things that probably look like this a little bit, but start hurting even a little more. And so be aware. We're always going to do all we can, right? And we're always going to try to protect everything we can for our kids. But that's the reality of where I see we're at. And it's why I agree with what Mike said. It's critical. It's critical for the community. It's critical to the future of the school. But I also view that, yes, it's a choice for the community, right? But it really is a choice between, do you want the school to, because yeah, the money's gonna. This has a money tree hard. It's hard, but our kids are worth it. They really are. I believe that, and I think our community believes that. I feel more positive every day as people talk to me about it, that it's going to happen. But I do think it's important that we put out there that we're getting the stuff that we really don't want to be cutting. So, but 8% is definitely my number. So.
Thoughts?
With John, I think the numbers look better if we do the 5% over 3 years. We can't vote on that in 1 year. And 3 years from now, who's going to look and say, well, we just gave you 5% the last 2 years. So I think that the 8% is the way we have to go right now. It's our only real viable option.
Huh?
I'm on board, and just to talk about clerical, they're really important. administrators taking out dual roles. They're clerical individuals, and that's kind of scary. So you have to remember how important the folks who are in the back of the house are and how much they can impact the quality of our education. So we have to keep that going as well. Thanks.
So I did have an opportunity to really study the presentations that were made. And as I was looking through them, I'm a list maker. So I started to list out the 5%, 8%. And I did look at 5 different categories: the dollar amount, the risk, the financial relief, term stability, and we still have to always, from this particular seat, think about the political feasibility of things. So in looking at the 2 scenarios, the 5% and the 8%, the 5%, as far as money was concerned, it's a moderate increase in our money. The risk of acceptance is more likely, and the financial relief is only partial, because we would have to go out multiple times. And once we begin to go out multiple times, fatigue, as you say, sets in, and the likelihood of that sometimes is reduced. The long-term stability that you get from the 5% is still limited. We have to have more overrides in order to make that particular number work. And the political feasibility of that, it is reasonable that, people understand where we're coming from, that the 5%, would be something that they would support. Then I looked at the 8%, doing the same types of things, and the money, there's a significant revenue bump with the 8%. There's a little bit more risk that's included with it, but the financial relief is more comprehensive, and it lasts us longer and gets us to a certain point where we have the opportunity and the time to work towards making sure that we are sustainable financially. I think the long-term stability with that number is better. It's still, there's still the political risk, but, I do think that. So in looking at both of those scenarios, my feeling is that the 8% would be the way to go if we're going to be looking for an override of the budget tax levy number. And it does require, our community buying into it and spreading the word that this is, for us, a crossroad. And different people have said it different ways, but for me, this is not a business. It's not money in, money out, money in, product out. This is an investment in our children. It's an investment in our community, and it's an investment in our world. And I do think, and then I did the math, and it still, for me, was a very reasonable ask to go with the 8%, because it is, if we spread it out amongst everybody, it is a much easier lift. And I think that 8% is the way to go.
Yeah. And I think that the support seems different this year. It seems greater. And I think Tim's presentation was really helpful and eye-opening. And it made it clear what needed to happen. So I hope more and more people look at it, but I think that was a huge benefit towards us.
So are we all in agreement?
Yep.
That
Sounds
8%? So for our next regular meeting, take a look at having the complete picture for the 8% and adopt.
Right, so we would adopt it on Tuesday,
On Tuesday.
so unless you felt like we need another meeting before that.
No.
8%.
That right now, 5 of us have said the 8% is where, is what we wanted to support. Does anybody feel the need for another?
No.
Is there anything else that we need to talk? Else? All right, then, at this point, I'd like to close the workshop. Thank you very much for attending and your comments, and thank you for putting in the time and thought.
I don't know.
So this is-
I just do it just in case.
It does look like
Yep.
that's what-